Okay, this next lesson is going to be next video lesson on trig. We're going to start to move into some of the applications. I'm going to start with a question that says, let's say given the point, let's say negative 2, negative 4 is on the terminal side of an angle theta in standard position. Okay. All right. Find all 6 trig functions. Okay. Now, what you're going to do here, okay, is you're going to go ahead and draw out a triangle. This is theta. Okay. Now, we know this is x and this is y, and we know when we label our triangle, we get something like this, and we've talked about this before, that these could be x and y. What you should do, all right, is draw your triangle, okay, and you want to keep everything positive. Okay, so that would be 2 and 4. You're going to want to use PYT to find the third side. Okay. So I got 2 squared plus 4 squared equals my hypotenuse squared, so that's going to be 4 and 16, and that would be 20, okay, equals h squared. Take the square root of that. 2 and 10, 2 and 5, okay? All right, so that's going to end up being 2 square root of 5, okay? All right, now, what I want to do now is I want to find the trig functions. Okay, all right, so I've got sine of theta. Okay, sine would be O over H, okay? Now, I cannot have square roots in the denominator, so the simple thing is to multiply top and bottom by that square root, so that would be 4 square root of 5. Okay, this would be square root of 5 times square root of 5 would just be 5, okay? So 2 times 5 would be 10, and that would reduce to 2/5. Okay? Cosecant there, okay, once again, very poor board space by my part, okay, would just be the flip of this, 2 over the square root of 5 over 4, all right, which would just be 1/2 square root of 5, okay, so 2 and the 4 reduced, okay. Cosine theta, okay, would be 2 over 2 square root of 5, same concept, multiplied by square root of 5 top and bottom, so 2 square root of 5 over 10, and that would reduce to 1/5. Okay, flipping over secant, okay, would be 2 square root of 5 over 2, which if I divide those is just 1 square root of 5. Okay, and then tangent theta would be 4 over 2, which would just be 2, and cotangent of theta 2 over 4, which is 1/2. Okay, now the fourth step, okay, is find the positives and negatives based on the quadrant, okay? So Mr. Evans, I have no idea what quadrant that is. Well, where would a -2, -4 be? That would be there. So what's tan and cotan are the things that end up being positive. So these would stay positive, and now this would be negative, this would be negative, this would be negative, and this would be negative, okay? All right, so that's how you would do that problem, okay? Let me give you guys one to try, okay? All right, same thing. All right, here's your point now. Your point is going to be let's go. Your point is 3, -9. Okay, and we want to find all 6 trig functions. Okay, so go ahead and pause your video. Okay, and see if you can go ahead and do that. Okay, all right, so this is x, this is y, so A, O, theta, H, so this is going to be 3, 9, okay, all right, so 3 squared plus 9 squared is the hypotenuse squared, so 9 and 81 is 90, okay, that would break down to 2 and 45, 3 and 15, 3 and 5, that would be your, so that'd be 3 square root of 10, okay? You got the 2 and the 5 on the inside, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and find these. Sine of theta would be 9 over 3 square root of 10. So I'd multiply by square root of 10 top and bottom. So it's gonna be 9 square root of 10. That would be basically 30. If you divide that, would be 3/10. Okay, cosecant of this would just be 3 square root of 10 over 9, which is just 1/3 square root of 10. Okay, cosine, which is a over h, is 3 over 3 square root of 10. Multiply by square root of 10 top and bottom, so 3 square root of 10 over 30, which is 1/10 square root of 10. Okay. Cosine, the secant flipped over, would just be 3 square root of 10 over 3, which is 1 square root of 10. Okay. Tangent is 9 over 3, which is 3. And cotangent is 3 over 9, which is 1/3. Okay? Now, what quadrant would that be in? Well, how would I plot that point? 3 over negative 9 down, which is here. Cosine and secant are positive. So this would be negative. This would be negative. These two would be positive, negative, negative. Okay? All right. Let's go on to the next type of question. If, let's say secant of theta equals 2, let's not do 2, let's do 5. Okay, and sine of theta is less than 0. Find, let's say tan of theta and cotangent of theta. Okay, this is a little bit of a thinking question. Okay, all right. First of all right, I want to draw the triangle. All right, so say, Mr. Evans, how are we going to do that? Okay, so if it's 5, that would be 5 over 1. Now, what is secant? H over A. So this is the H, and this is the A. So H, O and Y, A and X. Okay, so H would be 5, the A would be 1. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use that trig function. All right, use that trig function. All right, to draw the triangle. Once again, keep everything positive. Okay, don't worry about the negatives. We'll deal with that when we get to the quadrant. Okay. Then we want to do PYT to find the third side. That doesn't change. Okay. So I would do my opposite squared plus 1 squared equals 5 squared. So that would be opposite squared plus 1 equals 25. Subtract 1, I get the opposite squared equaling 24, square root of 24. That'd be 2 and 12, 2 and 6, 2 and 3. Okay, so this would be a 2 on the outside with a 2 times 3, so it'd be 2 square root of 6 would be the opposite in that case. Okay, then what you want to do is use the clues to find the quadrant. Okay, now here's what I got here. Here's what they're basically telling me. They are telling me that secant is positive, and sine being less than 0, sine being negative. Okay, so let's go to our quadrants. Okay, all right. So we got sine is positive here, sine is positive here, sine is negative, and sine is negative. Okay, we know that from our quadrant stuff. We know that cosine and secant, which are basically the same thing, we know secant will be positive here, secant will be negative, secant will be negative, and secant will be positive. Okay, so where is the secant positive and the sine negative? That would be down in this quadrant. So we are in quad 4. Okay, we're in quad 4. So everything we apply to quad 4. So what do they want to find? Tan and cotan. All right, tan, okay, is opposite over adjacent, and that's easy. That's just 2 square root of 6. All right, cotangent would be 1 over 2 square root of 6. So I multiply by square root of 6 top and bottom. So that's 1 square root of 6 over 12. Okay. So in this quadrant, what's the only thing that's going to be positive? Cosine and secant. So that means that both of these results would be negative. So very similar questions. Okay. Just different ways of getting at them. Okay. All right. So let me give you guys one to try like that. Okay. Okay. If let's say if I don't want to use the same trig function. Let's say if cosecant equals a theta equals -3 and cosine is less than 0. Cosine of theta is less than 0. Okay. All right. Find tangent of theta and cotangent of theta. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and pause your video and see if you can figure out this question. Okay. So what we got here with this, okay, pretty simply, all right, I want to make that over 1. Cosecant is h over o, okay? So h, o, a. So that's 3, that's 1. I don't know the a in this case. I don't care about the negatives. Okay, so a squared plus 1 squared equals 3 squared. That's a squared plus 1 equals 9. That'd be a squared equals 8. Square root of 8, 2 and 4, 2 and 2. Okay, so this a will be 2 square root of 2. Okay, so we find tangent. Tangent's o over a, so 1 over this 2 square root of 2. So I'd multiply by square root of 2 top and bottom, so it's going to be 1 square root of 2 over, I think, 4. Okay. Cotangent would just be the opposite. Cotangent would be 2 square root of 2 over 1, which would just be 2 square root of 2. Okay. Now, what quadrant are we in? Okay. So, cosecant's negative. Okay. Well, we know cosecant will be positive here. We know cosecant will be negative. Will be positive here. We know cosecant will be negative. Cosecant will be negative. Okay, based off the quadrants. Remember, cosine and sine. I mean, cosecant and sine are the same. Okay, cosine being negative. All right. We know cosine's positive here. We know cosine's negative here. We know cosine's negative here. And we know cosine's positive here. Okay. So where's the situation where you have both? You would have this here. So what's positive here? Tan and cotan. So both of these answers would end up being positive. Okay? All right? So a little bit of an application there with those. Okay? All right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and move into something real simple before we move into our word problems to finish this thing. Okay? Find the arc length and sector area. This is something that in the normal year we do this, do some stuff with rotations, but with this we really don't have time. We do want to cover these topics. So let's say we have this. Say this is 120 degrees, and say this is 8. Okay, and then let's say this is say this is pi over 6. Let's say this is 20. Okay, so arc length and sector area. Okay, there are two formulas. Okay, arc length, okay, is equal to r times theta. Okay, where theta is in radians. Okay, and then sector area is equal to 1/2 r squared times theta. Same thing where theta is in radians, okay? All right, so this is actually, if you have a degree, the first step here is to convert the degree to a radian. Okay, so 120, we did this before, times pi over 180, so that's 120 over 180 with a pi here, okay? So 120, all right, divided by 180, okay? It's gonna be 2/3 pi, all right, 2/3 pi. All right, so that's the measurement, okay? So to find the arc length, it's very simple. My radius here is 8, okay, times 2/3 pi, okay? And you can go ahead and just write the answer in terms of pi, okay? So all you would do is do 8 times 2/3, and then get yourself a fraction, so that's gonna be 16/3 pi, okay? For the sector area, this is gonna be 1/2, 8 squared, times the same 2/3 pi. Okay, so what I would do is I would do 1/2 times 8 squared, okay, times 2/3. Get yourself a fraction again, that's 64/3 pi, okay? It's that simple, all right? Now this next one is pretty easy on us, okay? Our arc length would be 20 times pi over 6, or 1/6 if you want to think of it that way. Okay, so 20 times 1/6 will be 10/3 pi. Okay, and then your sector area here would be 1/2 times 20 squared times the same 1/6 pi. Okay, so I would do 1/2 times 20 squared times 1/6. Okay, and that's going to be 100 over 3 pi. Okay, easy to write in terms of pi. Okay, so that's pretty easy. All right, let me give you guys one to try on your own, or two to try. Okay, so here's your circle. Okay, I would like you to find the let's say we're dealing with 225 degrees and 12. Let's say for this one we got let's say 5 pi over 6. I did that before, did I? No. Okay, let's say this is measurement is 5 pi over 6. And let's say this is 4. Okay, so I would like you to pause your video and go ahead and find arc length and sector area. Okay, you can go ahead and pause your video and work on that. Okay, arc length, okay, all right. That's going to be equal to that times that. I got to convert this to a radian. Rushing through. So I got 180 times pi over 225. So 180 over 225. That's 4/5 pi. Wait, this doesn't make any sense. No, oops, I did, yeah. Hold on. Rushing through. 225 times pi over 180, 225 over 180. That's 5/4 pi. Okay, so I have 5/4 pi times my radius of 12. Okay, so very simply 5/4 times 12. You can find that. It's going to be 15 pi. That'd be my answer for there. For sector area, it's 1/2 times 12 squared times 5/4 pi. Okay, so I got 0.5 times 12 squared times 5/4. That's gonna be 90 pi. Okay, this one's already in radian form. So I got 5/6 pi times 4. So I got 5/6 times 4. So that's going to be 10/3. And then I would do 1/2 4 squared times 5/6. Okay, so 0.5 times 4 squared times 5/6. And I can go ahead and make that 20/3. Okay, and that's pretty much it. All right, the next lesson will be on trig word problems.